the Prime Minister had said that key resources could become inaccessible to a lot of the people in the developing countries. Has the DSDS this time taken its cue from that remark of the Prime Minister?
We had decided on the theme of DSDS 2013 several months ago, and this was based on the realization that if you look at the pattern of growth and development, it essentially involves using larger and larger quantities of resources of various kinds. And clearly those communities and countries which don't have the means would find it very difficult to access these resources as prices go up, which is inevitable with growing scarcity. So I think the Prime Minister made this point very effectively, because after all we have to worry about some of the equity implications of our policies today. And we are living in a world where the gap between rich and poor, if anything, is growing. And if you see increasing scarcity of materials of various kinds, of resources of various kinds, then obviously those who are at the lower end of the income structure will be the ones who would be deprived even further.
Climate change makes us look at things from a global perspective rather than confined or national perspectives. So how far do you think has the 13th DSDS helped us move towards a more consolidated or a coordinated global action?
You see, there are two dimensions of dealing with climate change. One, of course, is at the global level, and that involves mitigating the emissions of greenhouse gases. After all, these gases are those that mix freely in the atmosphere, and therefore what any single country or location shows doesn't necessarily result in impacts confined only to that location. The impacts of climate change take place across the globe. So as far as mitigation is concerned, that's a global imperative. But when it comes to adaptation, then you really need local capacity, you need local institutional strengths, and you need local initiatives. So this is something that I think awareness is growing on very rapidly, and perhaps to that extent DSDS 2013 was able to focus on the need for adaptation at the local level. And I hope countries that are represented over here will go away with this message and start looking at the projections of climate change in their own backyards, in their own countries, and then taking actions by which they may be able to adapt to these impacts.
There are lots of these new shifts, or there's a change in the developing sector and the environmental sectors. So do you kind of get a feeling that these throw certain countries off the balance, even as they have to battle poverty?
You see, I think development is never a simple strategy. Development requires a multiplicity of efforts, and I think these will depend on the state of a particular society. In some societies where, let's say, education levels are very low, you would need to invest in creating knowledge, creating a literate society, and several other measures. But let's say if you have a country which already has a high level of literacy, educational standards are high, then you need a very different kind of approach over there. You would really have to ensure that whatever knowledge base exists can be reshaped in a direction that leads to resource efficient and sustainable patterns of growth and development. So I really think there's no single sort of uniform approach that we could follow in pursuing development strategies. These will have to be tailored to suit the specific conditions and challenges faced by every society.
So does a course like the DSDS, is it able to bring together these various different thoughts for a more developed society and a better earth?
We certainly try to do that. Of course, for this reason we have established these parallel tracks this year, so that we can focus on specific aspects of development and sustainable development far more effectively. And I think this has been generally well received.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.